Welcome to the Podkey summary of Communicate Your Brand Identity on iOS from WWDC 2026. A lot of the smartest app design advice right now comes down to one simple shift. Stop treating branding and interface Chrome like the same thing. With Apple's liquid glass direction in iOS 26, the idea is to keep navigation native and familiar, then let the content area do the expressive work through color, imagery, type, and motion. And once you look at it that way, a bunch of design choices get clearer, from dark mode and dynamic type to logos, icons, and when custom UI is actually worth the trouble. The big model here is thinking of an app as two layers. There's the persistent UI layer, the stuff that helps you move around. Tab bars, toolbars, group tables, all the familiar navigation pieces people already know how to use. Then there's the content layer, which is where the brand gets to breathe. That content area becomes the canvas for color, photography, illustration, motion, and tone, without asking users to relearn how an iPhone app works, just to experience your brand. That's why the advice is to lean on standard components for routine tasks. If a tab bar already does the job, use the tab bar. If a group table organizes settings cleanly, use that too. People bring a lot of muscle memory into iOS apps, and native components cash in on that instantly. Custom UI can absolutely be worth it, but mostly when it highlights core content or creates a moment that actually matters. Otherwise, you burn engineering time to reinvent something users already understood. And sometimes, the result just feels oddly dated. Nobody wants a shiny custom control that somehow looks older than the phone. A good example of native behavior doing a lot of work is the context menu. Instead of building some one-off modal system for screen-wide actions, you can put a toolbar button up top and let a context menu handle it. It keeps the interaction compact, familiar, and consistent with the rest of iOS. And because SwiftUI gives you context menus out of the box, it's also one of those rare design decisions that saves time while making the product feel more polished. Liquid glass also changes where brand color should live. Before this, plenty of apps would slap solid color onto tab bars and toolbars, which looked branded, sure, but also ate into usable space and made the interface feel heavier. The newer guidance is to keep that shell cleaner and move the color into the scrollable content area instead. Because liquid glass can inherit the app's accent color automatically, you still get a strong edge-to-edge sense of brand, but the navigation layer stays unmistakably native. Dark mode fits right into this idea of being considerate on a personal device. People use their phones in bed, on trains, in dark rooms, in bright rooms, all day long, and a lot of them keep dark mode on as a default preference. So if an app ignores that, it can create a negative experience even if the light mode design technically looks fine. The point isn't just compliance with a setting, it's brand trust. Apps like Gentler Streak and NYT Cooking show how a thoughtful dark palette can make the whole product feel more deliberate, more respectful, and honestly more finished. Tightmic is another place where brands understandably want to stand out. If you've got a custom typeface, great, use it. But it still has to play nicely with dynamic type. That means when someone increases the system font size, labels shouldn't get chopped off or start fighting the layout. The text needs to reflow gracefully. That's important for accessibility guidelines, obviously, but it also says something about the brand itself. When an app stays readable for people with vision or cognitive needs, it sends a very clear message that the people making it actually cared about the experience. The same balancing act shows up with icons. SF Symbols is incredibly practical here. You get thousands of system-aligned icons that scale like text, come in different weights, and plug right into Xcode without a lot of extra handoff work. That makes them a strong default, especially when the goal is to feel at home on iOS. Custom iconography can still work, and NYT Cooking is one example where a unique visual flavor helps, but it still has to respect the platform around it. If the icons feel like they came from a totally different operating system, people notice, even if they don't say it out loud. Logos are similar. On a phone, a logo can take up a surprising amount of precious space. NYT Cooking handles that nicely by showing the logo on the Home tab and fading it as you scroll, which keeps the brand present without pinning a banner to your forehead the whole time. It's a good reminder that branding doesn't have to mean constant logo exposure. Color, type, motion, and tone can carry a lot of that weight. Motion is maybe the sneakiest part of all this, because people feel it before they can describe it. A fluid transition, like the zoom transition used for comments in NYT Cooking, helps connect the thing you tapped with the screen you got. That makes the app feel more intentional and often faster because the movement explains what just happened. But the flip side is brutal. Dropped frames and delayed loads erode trust quickly. Even if a user never says this animation harmed my confidence, they still come away with the sense that something is off. Motion sets expectations for performance, so if the app can't keep up, the brand takes the hit. All of this leads to one of the more useful warnings in the whole conversation. Don't copy a brand verbatim from web to Android to iOS and call it consistency. Each platform has its own context, habits, and expectations. On iOS especially, users expect certain patterns to behave a certain way, and when an app ignores that in the name of uniformity, the result is usually friction. The better goal is a product that feels distinct yet native. You keep the platform conventions where they help people move confidently, and you inject the brand where it deepens the experience instead of interrupting it. That's a much stronger identity than forcing every surface to look identical. So the short version is, let the interface do its job, let the content carry the personality, and be thoughtful about the places where branding actually improves the experience. When that balance is right, the app feels more like itself and more like iOS at the same time, which is a pretty nice trick. This episode was generated by Podkey. Create your own at podkey.fm.